Alright, Final Fantasy 16, aka The Witcher May Cry 16 The Thrones of Z. The hot new PS5 exclusive coming straight from the womb of Mother Enix. A love child of the affair that is Sony and Square. Everyone knows what is going on, but no one says anything. I have had the good fortune of playing some 38 to 40 hours of this epic masterpiece. After that, 1. The game ends. 2. Your thumb muscles spasm so hard it takes a week to recover. So, what do I think of the game? Should you buy it? Is it not a Final Fantasy at all? Is Clive a virgin? Is Clive named after a clove? So many questions, but I will try to answer some of them in this video. The game starts in the middle of the desert, where our boy Clive and his boy band are trying to find a dominant lady. At first I thought this was some weird fetish quest the gang was on, which is not unreasonable when a bunch of medieval men get together. But as it turned out, the dominant was quite literally a large woman throwing ice at a somehow larger, bald stone man. In this scene, the game flexes its graphical muscles to the fullest and slaps you right to the realization that this isn't your daddy's Final Fantasy, this is a PS5 Final Fantasy. I was sat there, dumbfounded, burning the sheer beauty into my retinas. The scale, the size of this battle is really impressive. And this isn't even the craziest battle, not by a long shot. Following some more cutscenes, we finally get a hold of our man,
Clive!
Now, let me tell you something about Clive. He is a man of focus, commitment, and sheer fucking willpower. When you play the game for yourself, you will know why I say this. Square Enix would have you believe that FF16 is a role-playing game. To that I say,
Bullshit!
16 is an action game through and through. The only role you'll be playing is that of a spectator during one of the million cutscenes this game has to offer. There are some light RPG mechanics sprinkled in so that the hardcore Final Fantasy fans don't fall to the ground frothing from their mouths. But those systems are about as effective as Xbox's attempt at making a good first-party game. If you go into 16 with a mindset that you would be creating custom builds, leveling up individual attributes, making Clive look as you want,
Stop it. Get some help.
you don't deserve that. No. However, if you go at it like an action game / movie, you might be surprised just how good it actually is. At the core, this is a fighting game. Think Devil May Cry, but with less butt cheeks. Wait, scratch that. Both games have an equal amount of butt cheeks. Now, this core is wrapped up in a delicious package. A captivating narrative, fantastic writing, gorgeous visuals, and a likable cast of characters. Let's start with the narrative, shall we? This is a story about free will, about choosing one's own destiny, about brotherhood, and about promises. Clive is our main bitch, and we get to live his life. A life full of turmoil, drama, surprisingly not a lot of women, and most importantly, a mission. Our boy starts out as a bodyguard to his younger and more anime-looking brother. They call him the Shield, but his mother calls him a failure. Because she's a major bitch and because the Phoenix left Clive on red. Phoenix is one of the icons, a kind of superpower that blesses some of the people born in Valisthea. Throughout the story, we fight a whole bunch of these beasts, and we get to steal their powers. As the story unfolds, Clive is flung into a life of slavery and guilt after he is betrayed by his own mommy. Sold off to enemy forces, Clive trains to be an assassin soldier. But one flame burns within him like Mexican food, to find the guy responsible for killing his baby brother. So, given the first chance, Clive betrays his battalion and joins forces with Sid, a man with a voice so heavy you would think he had been smoking since his time in the womb. We also find Clive's long-lost girlfriend, Jill. After she is nursed back to health, We go on a quest to find answers. Most importantly, who killed the brother? This burning question is answered rather quickly when the killer is revealed to be none other than Clive himself. Clive is riddled with guilt and shame. But then we press L3 plus R3 to accept the truth, and everything becomes okay. Fresh out of meaning and purpose, Clive is recruited by Sid to help him help others oppressed by the Empire. There was something to do with the crystals bleeding the earth dry, but my pizza came, so I went to get that and missed the whole part. So, loaded with a new mission in life, we set across the lands to destroy these beautiful structures and to save our fellow men from the evils of magic. There is an overarching plot on top of all this, but I won't spoil that for y'all. Now, as a game, the mission structure is very similar each time around. We have a hub area called the Hideaway. You get to run between different people with very specific roles, just like a government office, and you also get side quests. It would be better to call them side tasks because that's what they are. But they do help in developing relationships between characters. Some of the best moments are in these side tasks. The Hideaway feels very much like your own family. You know where you can find someone at any given time, so much so that these characters don't ever move from where they usually are. Makes you wonder if they're trying to cover up an accident or something. Really sus. Remember when I said this is an action game? Yeah. Every mission is structured like this. 1. You get intel and explanation about your target at the Hideaway. 2. You pack up your things and go to the place where the mission is. 3. You see some cutscenes. 4. You fight hordes of low-level enemies, wave after wave. 5. You fight a mid-tier enemy. 6. You fight a mini-boss on the way to the main boss. 7. You see some really cool cutscenes. 8. You fight the main boss for that level, which is usually a multi-stage battle. Some of the most epic stuff you can see. 9. You take away their power while screaming in agony. 10. You run away, giggling like a little girl. 90% of the missions follow the exact same structure. It may be more than 90%, but I don't remember every single one. That's because my mom didn't give me almonds when I was a kid. I can't even remember who I am some days. Anyway, all of this repetition would be quite exhausting and turn stale quick if the combat wasn't so damn good. But it is. Oh, it is. There are loads of abilities and combos you can unlock by spending ability points. There are basic tier abilities that can be learned very early on, which allows for a very strong arsenal of moves. There are light attacks, charged attacks, Dragon Ball Z like fireballs you can hurl at the fools who dare cross your path. Layered on top are the special abilities that deal damage or stagger to varying degrees. Added to the mix is an ever-growing list of iconic powers that you very politely borrow from the major bosses. Each unlocks a different style of play. Phoenix, Bahamut, and Titan are for damage and for quickly draining the ever-living life out of your enemies. Garuda, Ramu, and Shiva are for cool particle effects and to stagger your enemies emotionally. Odin is for the sins you've committed that will land your soul in hell 100%. You know the ones I'm talking about. All of this comes together to create a combat system so fun and so engaging, it becomes hard to believe that life can have moments of such thrill and excitement. It was supposed to be just pain and suffering, wasn't it? I haven't even told you about Ifrit and just how incredible he feels. That is all I'm willing to say about that, and I won't be taking any further questions at this time. So, the combat is the best thing since sliced bread. What else? Oh, the graphics. Now, that topic is a bit complicated. If we talk about the actual fidelity of the stuff on screen, FF16 is a really impressive display. Character models are so intricately detailed that they put many CGI movies to shame. Lighting, from global illumination to source lights, are some of the best we have seen to date. Shadows and ambient occlusion also rival the best implementations out there. Most impressive are the materials. Metals have a very realistic and worn down look, depending on where it is used, especially cloth and leather. Great textures, and everything has correct specular properties as well. For cloth, they have even implemented fall off maps, which make them look that much more realistic. Textures are generally very good throughout the game. For an example, characters have patchy complexion and very detailed skin. You can even see tears react realistically as they slide down the face. Really top notch and next gen stuff. However, that's not to say it is perfect. Like any good Japanese game, you can find odd, low resolution textures that would make your dad ask if you're into games from his era nowadays. But it is impressive nonetheless. Same goes for environments. While they look good as a whole, I want you to think about it this way. Imagine there is a very beautiful backdrop that you can see but you can't interact with, quite like a desktop wallpaper. There isn't any terrain deformation technology like God of War Ragnarok, or anything like sand reacting to your movements like Forbidden West. You can't even break any world object like boxes or vegetation. Hell, you can't even go into the water. All of this makes the world feel very limited and non-interactive. But then again, this is not an open world game like GTA. It is a very linear cinematic experience, for which I can't really fault it too much. All of this is about fidelity. But what about the technical execution? Unfortunately, this is an area where the game struggles the most. Firstly, the resolution. I played with the fidelity mode, which tries to give you a 4K-like image, but we will talk about that later on. The performance mode is absolute garbage, as it runs way below 60 FPS and looks like an abstract oil painting when things start happening. A game this beautiful warrants you can actually appreciate the fine details. That's where the fidelity mode comes in. I am fine with 30 FPS if that can give me great image quality. But that is a bit too much to ask of the PS5 in this game, I'm afraid. The devs have used FSR1 in my opinion, which sucks ass, also in my opinion. When there is any movement on screen, the whole image becomes so blurry that I had to get checked to see if there was something wrong with my eyes. Thankfully my eyes are fine. I only have some missing organs, which is a relief. By the way, this isn't due to motion blur, which was also quite horrendous at launch. No, the game actually becomes blurry and then sharpens up if you leave it still for a moment. You would think this reliance on shit upscaling would give you a stable performance, right? Wrong. The game drops frames frequently during battle or even just normal navigation. It chugs a lot when the camera is close to character faces during a cutscene, which makes them look like a stop motion cartoon more often than not. All of this is a bit disheartening, to be honest. I was expecting better optimization. I eagerly look forward to an eventually PC port with DLSS, so I can enjoy the beauty properly for once. However, that is not to say that the game isn't immersive. Quite the opposite actually. The cutscenes are shot beautifully. The dialogue is incredibly captivating. Hell, even the low-level enemies have such epic speeches that you start to wonder if they somehow are an important boss fight. Then moments later, they get slaughtered like vegetables, so you know that they're not. The pacing of the narrative will have you hooked like a crack addict, eager to find out what happens next. From Game of Thrones like politics to Dragon Ball Z like encounters, this game is full of heart and full of brains. There are some moments in the story that will have you pause the game and just sit there for a while, pondering stuff from your own past and your own existence. You would be left with a hole in your life after the game ends. And at that point, you may immediately start a new game plus, or start making a video about what you just experienced. Guess which one I did. So, we have talked about the good, and the bad. What are my thoughts on the game as a whole? Well, Final Fantasy XVI is best explained as a movie game that doesn't do a lot in variety, but whatever it does to the absolute peak of ambition. The bombastic combat and the colossal narrative easily place this as one of the best premium gaming experience of modern age. Every single person who worked on this project deserves applause and the utmost respect for their soulful craft that resembles art more than it does work. You can feel there was passion behind the wheel and not just another day at the job. If I have to put a number on it, I would give Final Fantasy XVI a 9 out of 10. It may not be perfect, but it is one hell of a ride that I can easily recommend to anyone. If you liked this video, do subscribe and leave a like. I would also love to hear your experiences with the game and what you think about it. So comment down below and let me know your favorite moments.